Okay, let's dive into this incredible stack of sources you've brought. It's all about recent archaeological finds from, well, pretty much everywhere. Feels like a global treasure hunt.
It really is a
Yep.
snapshot of just how much is still being discovered. We're seeing finds that challenge what we thought we knew about ancient cities, how people moved around.
Glimpses into prehistoric life, even ancient beliefs.
Exactly. So the idea for this deep dive is to really unpack these sources, pull out the most interesting bits, the surprising facts.
Yeah, we're covering a lot of ground. Elite schools hidden by earthquakes, Roman roads popping up, Neanderthal homes, even some really specific grave goods.
It's all about seeing how these different pieces of the puzzle fit together, right? Found in such different ways.
Definitely. Let's start with one that came about through, well, something quite dramatic. Mexico City, 1985. That awful earthquake.
A huge event, 8.1 magnitude, terrible loss of life, so much destruction.
But almost ironically, that destruction actually opened up the ground, didn't it? Revealed older structures hidden beneath.
It's a stark reminder of how history is literally layered beneath our cities. And yeah, sometimes it takes a catastrophe to bring it to light. The sources mention a recent dig near the Templo Mayor.
Following leads from that earthquake damage.
Precisely. And what they found was pretty significant.
The ruins of an elite school, right? Not just any school.
Yes, specifically for the sons of Aztec nobility. The training was very focused. War and worship.
War and worship, that pairing.
It tells you a lot. And its location, right near the Templo Mayor, the main sacred site, that's key. The source really emphasizes this proximity.
Suggesting a major priority for the elite, training young men for power, essentially.
Absolutely. It wasn't just about skills. It was about embedding the ideology needed to rule, combining military might with religious authority.
Makes sense. And wasn't there a famous graduate mentioned?
Yeah, get this, Emperor Montezuma himself. The source notes he likely attended this type of institution. A Harvard historian, David Caracuso, commented on this kind of setup.
Wow. So the emperor we all know from that era was a product of this very specific, very deliberate training.
It really highlights how structured their system was for perpetuating leadership.
It shows us, that Aztec society wasn't just temples and sacrifices. It had these formal institutions underpinning its power structure, and it's right there under the modern city.
A tangible link to the past, uncovered by disaster.
Okay, so from destruction revealing history, let's switch to something more routine. A discovery during infrastructure work in Israel.
Right. This was near Beit Shemesh, maybe 20 miles or so west of Jerusalem. It happened during a salvage excavation, basically a dig they had to do before putting in a new water line.
Standard procedure, but they found something unexpected.
They did. A section of ancient Roman road, about 164 yards of it, cobbled road.
Okay, Roman road. What's the thinking on what it...
The archaeologists figure this section likely linked an ancient town, Bethlehem, to one of the main Roman highways in the area. That highway ran south from Jerusalem towards Elithopolis.
It's a sort of connector road then.
Exactly, like an on-ramp to the main artery.
And they found dating evidence. Coins, I think.
Yes, several coins turned up right there at the site, and they date to the 1st century A.D.
Okay, 1st century A.D. Now, that's interesting because the main highway wasn't that thought to be later.
Generally, yes. The thinking was that the major highway construction happened after Emperor Hadrian's visit around 130 A.D.
So this feeder road could actually be older than the main highway it connects to.
That's the intriguing possibility the Israel Antiquities Authority team is looking at. The coin evidence suggests parts of the network might predate those big imperial projects.
Huh. So just putting in a water pipe leads to potentially rewriting a bit of the local Roman timeline.
It happens. Modern construction often turns up ancient history.
It makes you realize how even something simple like a road section tells a story about movement, connections, daily life, thousands of years ago.
Every find adds a piece to that vast puzzle.
Right. Now let's jump across continents and way back in time to an island in the English Channel, Jersey.
La Côte de Saint-Prelade. It's an amazing site, described as one of the longest occupied Neanderthal locations anywhere.
The scale sounds incredible. A huge granite formation.
Massive, deep ravines. And the archaeological record there is just staggering. It spans something like 200,000 years.
200,000 years.
With clear evidence Neanderthals were using it, maybe not continuously, but repeatedly, between roughly 240,000 and 40,000 years ago.
That time frame is hard to even grasp. So the sources mention a big question researchers from the University of London are asking.
Yeah, basically. Why this place? What made it a persistent place, as they put it? Why keep coming back for millennia, even as the climate and environment shifted dramatically?
Good question. What are the potential answers?
Well, a few things. Part of the time, the English Channel was dry land, so Jersey wasn't an island. The Granite Formation itself would have been a major landmark, easily visible.
Location, 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 even for Neanderthals.
Maybe partly.
Yeah.
But the researchers are also linking it to changes in Neanderthal behavior happening around the same time, like the more regular controlled use of fire, innovations in making tools, different hunting strategies. These things were developing during that long period.
So the idea is, as their abilities changed, maybe how they saw and used the landscape changed too, making certain places like this one more significant, maybe changing their concept of home.
Exactly. It's this fascinating link between behavior, technology, and place. These innovations weren't just practical. They might have influenced how Neanderthals related to their environment, how they defined home.
What did home mean to them? Across all that time, it really makes you think.
It's a deep question about our ancient connections to specific spots on the map.
Okay, from ancient homes to ancient graves, but with a very modern twist. Scotland and pollen.
Yes, tiny clues telling a big story. This is near Caithness, Scotland, a grave dated to over 4,000 years ago specifically, 4,100 years back.
And a key find was pollen on a beaker.
Pollen grains found on a decorated beaker placed inside the grave of a young woman. Archaeologists call her Ava.
Right, her remains were found decades ago near some kind of stone structure.
That's right, near a megalithic horseshoe-shaped setting. But it's this new, detailed analysis of the beaker contents that's revealing things.
What kind of pollen did they find?
A mix. Lots from local trees and shrubs, birch, pine, Scots pine, hazel, alder, things you'd expect in that environment back then.
Okay, local flora. Anything else?
Yes, also heather, grasses, meadow plants, and significantly, St. John's wort.
St. John's wort. Isn't that often linked to medicinal uses or even rituals?
It certainly has those associations, historically. And they use stable isotope analysis looking at chemical signatures on the plants and Ava's bones.
To confirm she was local, right? That these plants were from her surroundings.
Exactly. It grounds the finding. So you have local plants, plus this one with potential significance, placed carefully in her grave.
What does that suggest? Beliefs? Rituals? Maybe even some kind of health practice.
It opens up those possibilities. We can't know for sure, but finding specific plants like that, especially in a funerary context, hints at complex beliefs or practices. It's amazing how science can pull these details out of seemingly tiny bits of evidence from millennia ago.
Just incredible, the stories hiding in pollen.
Mhm.
All right, for our final source dive, something that sounds pretty intense. Mesoamerican skull racks.
Plumply. Yes, they are visually striking. These were structures documented in several big Mesoamerican civilizations, Aztecs, Toltecs, Maya.
And they were used to display human skulls.
That's the basic idea. We know about them from a few different lines of evidence.
Not just archaeological finds.
Right, there are depictions in paintings, like in codices, written descriptions from Spanish observers after contact, and yes, actual archaeological discoveries of the racks themselves.
And the sources mention two main types.
Yeah, an important distinction. Some Sampantli displayed actual human heads, likely from captives or sacrifices. Others were made of stone, with rows of carved skulls instead of real ones.
So carved representations too. Where have they found the carved ones?
Examples are mentioned from major sites like Chichen Itza, the Maya capital, and Tula, the Toltec capital. So it was a known architectural feature.
Whether real skulls or carvings, what do these things tell us about the societies that built them? Power, beliefs. It seems pretty grim.
It's complex, and certainly could be grim. Archaeologists interpret them based on context. They were likely multifunctional, displays of military might, absolutely skulls of enemies,
Okay.
but also potentially linked to religious ceremonies, sacrifice rituals. They were public monuments, meant to send a powerful message.
A message about the power of the state or the gods?
Probably both. It involves looking at where they're found within a city, what else is nearby, and connecting it to the iconography and the historical accounts we have. It's interpreting a very direct, very visceral statement about their worldview.
A stark window into some central practices, then.
Definitely provides insight into aspects of those civilizations that were clearly important, even if unsettling to us now.
Wow. Okay, so wrapping this deep dive up, we've covered a huge range thanks to these sources. an elite Aztec skull revealed by an earthquake.
A Roman road section in Israel, possibly older than expected, found during pipe laying.
The mystery of why Neanderthals kept returning to La Côte de Saint-Prelade for 200,000 years.
Ancient pollen in a Scottish grave, hinting at 4,000-year-old beliefs or practices.
And those imposing Mesoamerican skull racks, the Zompatentli.
It really shows the incredible variety in archaeology, doesn't it? From huge structures to microscopic evidence, finds driven by planning, disaster, or just pure chance.
And each one gives us these concrete little glimpses into vastly different parts of the human story.
Absolutely. Constantly refining our picture of the past.
It really makes you think, doesn't it? Considering how many of these finds were accidental or revealed by events we couldn't predict, how much more history is still out there, just hidden, literally beneath our feet, waiting for the ground to shift or for someone to dig in just the right or maybe even the wrong spot. What other secrets are still buried?